Hi, I'm Millie, and today I'm going to be reframing your perspective on neurodiversity. You know ADHD and autism? I'm someone with both of these, and I know firsthand that these neurodiverse voices need to be heard. Let me ask you something. Have you ever tried focusing in a classroom where the lights are too bright, the clock is ticking too loud, and your brain is thinking about 15 things at once, but nobody else seems to notice? Well, that's what it can feel like for someone like me. But that doesn't make us weird. It just means that our brains work differently. A lot of people think that ADHD means you're always running around, can't sit still, or being too much. The truth is, not all of us are like that. Some kids with ADHD are super quiet. Some just zone out. Some talk a lot. ADHD looks different in everyone. It doesn't mean that we're lazy or that we're annoying. I'd say the same goes for autism. Some people think that autism means you can't talk, you don't have feelings, or you're a genius. But again, it's not that simple. Autism is a spectrum, as doctors like to call it. Some people need more help, some don't. Some people can talk all day, whilst others find it hard to look you directly in the eye. Some like loud music, others can't stand noise at all. It's not just one thing. People love to label things as high functioning or low functioning, and that is a clinical reference for someone with the type of ADHD or autism. While this is sometimes true, it has the potential to offend some people, whilst others, unbothered. For instance, in my eyes, labeling someone as high functioning or low functioning is like unjustly putting limitations on someone. But there are other things that make our lives harder. And that is what I want to speak to you all about today. Under high misconception, lots of neurological things have taken for granted. For instance, there's the school systems, which are perfect for people who don't suffer from these neurological differences. Most schools are built for one kind of brain. A brain that can sit still, follow instructions, stay focused, stay organized. That's not how my brain works. Sometimes I understand something, but I can't explain it the way that my teachers want. Sometimes I need to move or take a break. And sometimes I feel like I'm falling behind, even when I'm trying my absolute hardest not to. Now, to clear up any misunderstandings, I'm not asking for special treatment. I just want to learn in a way that makes sense for me. I want the cogs in my brain to continue turning and not falter. And I know I'm not alone when I say this. There are so many kids out there that just think school isn't for them. And honestly, it often isn't. People with ADHD and autism see things differently. We notice details that others miss. We think outside the box. Hell, sometimes we don't even consider that there is a box or what might be inside of it. We care deeply, even if we don't always show it in the ways that you would expect. We're creative, smart, passionate, and full of potential, just like everybody else. And here's a question for all of the people out there. Have you ever been somewhere, seen something and thought, that doesn't look right? Well, people with ADHD and autism often experience this thought in everyday life. Now, I'm not speaking for everyone when I say this, but I know personally that I do. Despite growing awareness of student needs, schools have historically taught students in a one-size-fits-all system. Now, this is obviously a great process for many people to have, for many students. But for those who don't understand it, I mean, sure, great, you've explained something, but I don't understand what you've just said, nor do I understand what you expect me to do with that information. I'm not saying that this is a bad process, but sometimes for someone with ADHD and or autism, the question could be asked, okay, how would you do it? Nobody thinks the same way, and I don't expect anyone to. But asking this simple question opens up so many branches for further understanding of the topic. More discussions means more awareness. More awareness means less misconception. An example of this for me personally is my battle with mathematics. The teacher was teaching us how to get the answer to algebraic equations, and whilst I understood the material he was teaching, what I couldn't understand was where he was getting the answer from. All the symbols, words, and numbers on the board were just like a scrambled letter in a game of Scrabble. What he was writing didn't correlate to what he was saying, and that confused me in so many ways. But after looking at the words for a while, and after looking at the numbers, they started to relocate to different spots. And although in reality it was the same, in my head it just made sense. And I'm not the only one who's done this, but I created a formula that fit my brain. I created a formula that made the material taught work for me. But not only was my formula understandable in my head, for once I was getting the correct answers. And this just shows that there is more than one way to get to the correct answer. And it's not a one-size-fits-all system. Now, I would also like to talk about the different versions of autism and ADHD that are out there. Most people make the assumption that there is one form of each diagnosis. That assumption is wrong. When you think of ADHD, your brain might go straight to that one person who can't sit still, calls out a lot, and does things totally out of context, like going into a breakdance in the middle of a classroom. Or maybe they just call out stuff with no reason whatsoever, like, I like cats, when you're discussing the usefulness of shoe umbrellas. Yeah, they're pretty useful. This is because when society thinks of ADHD, we think of the hyperactive version of it. But beyond common belief, there is more than one type of ADHD. There is three. There is three types of it. I want to tell you about the main forms of ADHD: inattentive, hyperactive, and combined. Now, what is inattentive ADHD, you may ask? Inattentive ADHD is a form of ADHD where instead of having to move around on the constant or be physically active, you can tend to zone in or zone out at just random points. You could be so attentive, it's hard to look away, or your brain could be wandering off and thinking about other things, in contrast, hyperactive ADHD is when a person tends to have trouble staying focused or still for long periods of time and indulges in excessive movement, makes more impulsive decisions, talks a lot, but overall, this isn't their fault. Hyperactive ADHD is a subform of ADHD derived off the hyper side of the neurological system in a human brain. Basically, it causes us to feel the need to express ourselves with physical motion, when sometimes we don't even know that we need to. And this can cause us to act impulsively in different situations. And some people have a combination of the two. Like ADHD, autism has a different, like ADHD, autism has different forms of itself, except these forms are shown as levels. There are 3 levels of autism. These levels are to show us how much help an individual may or may not need in circumstances. Level 1, formerly known as Asperger's syndrome, is what most of you might recognize as classic autism. People with level 1 autism may experience trouble understanding or following social cues. They may have rigid or inflexible behaviors or have trouble with making transitions. For example, changing their morning routine, even the smallest bit. But it's also the most undiagnosed form of autism, as it doesn't really show through much until the individual gets a bit older. Then there's level 2 of autism. Level 2 autism requires substantial support. For me personally, I'm level 2. Some examples of level 2 autism are suddenly becoming antisocial for small periods of time, or maybe just walking away mid-conversation. High interest in specific topics, and noticeable distress when change occurs. Now for last, there is level 3 autism. People with level 3 autism require high substantial support. Some people that suffer from level 3 autism experience a difficulty speaking or physically just cannot speak. It's not a matter of the fact that they don't want to or they don't have the ability to. It's just that their brain actually physically won't allow them to. You see, when you have an ADHD or an autistic brain, sometimes your brain can receive signals minutes before it has a chance. Like, you can receive signals minutes before your brain even gets the chance to send them. I might struggle with the challenges of my brain. In fact, I only finished writing this speech only a few hours ago. Very on brand, am I right? But I also see the amazing opportunities that my brain gives me. It's not mental illness, it's a neurological difference. I want to see a world that embraces neurodiversity, and I want to see a world that has its neurological differences. I want to see a world where kids like me don't have to feel alone. So remember, if any of this resonates with you, remember that you're not alone. Be the voice of tomorrow, even if you're a voice that doesn't fit in a room. Thank you.